It's an honor to be here. I've got a couple of slides just to get us started, and then I'm going to share screen and get super tactical with you guys today. So I do see there's a chat bot. I'm more than happy to answer any questions y'all have. So feel free to pop those in, and I will take a look. But let's get started here with me sharing my screen with you. All right, can you guys see that? Hold on one second. Oh, sorry, I'm used to working on multiple computers here.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. We just
Yeah,
saw
there we go. All
so
right,
that's
here we go.
perfect.
Perfect. All right. So I have just a couple slides here for you guys real quick, just to talk a little bit introductory, and then we're going to get super tactical. So the team had asked me to talk more about AI-powered transactions today, how we had offset all of the workflows, how you can get leads to come into your ecosystem and take a lot of the heavy lifting off of your plate. So I know this is going to be super overwhelming for a lot of you. What I'm going to do, though, is ask that you take as many notes as you can, not only from my session, but from the entire day. And what I want you to do is either tonight or sometime this week, take all of your notes, put them into whatever LLM you choose, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, doesn't matter. And I want you to use a prompt much like this. And I'll send it over to the team. That way you guys have the exact prompt. But just tell your LLM, I just finished a very powerful real estate workshop, and I've got a ton of raw notes, goals, and ideas in front of me. I want you to act as my business strategist and take everything I give you below and turn it into a complete personalized real estate business plan. And what it's going to do is, I see there's over 50 people in this room right now. Not everyone runs their business the same. So what it's going to do is it's going to take the notes that resonated with you, collide it with the business that you're currently running and the goals that you have for 2026, and it will actually start to create an action plan for you. It'll break down with clarity the exact step-by-steps that you should be taking to get your business where you want to go based upon your goals. Okay. Like I said, today is not just about learning a tool. I'm going to show you a couple of different tools, but it's about building a system that will work without you being present 24/7. And so Brady kind of touched on it a little bit, but over the course of the last 2 years, I've got automations for about 80% of our business. Where leads find us, when they fill out forms, what happens, when we go under contract, what happens. And I'm going to show you the behind the scenes on all of that today. Because your agents, as agents, we're not losing to better agents, we're losing to more efficient ones, right? Because the more efficient agents, especially if you know how to use AI, we can do more in less time while making more money. All right, so I'm going to go through here today a couple of problems that agents have. Leads come in and you're too busy. The first response is slow or generic. I'm going to show you exactly how you can have ChatGPT either answer your phone for you or start to text message on your behalf. Your listing appointment is a discovery call instead of a strategy meeting, meaning you're sitting across the table from a potential buyer or seller, asking them questions that we could have AI pre-qualify for you before you even get there. I'm going to show you that exactly today. And like I said, AI can become your pre-listing assistant. And I heard Brady, I jumped on a little late, but I heard he was talking about using it to kind of figure out market data and show them exactly where they're at. That's going to be great information that you're going to learn later today about that process as well. So let's start with seller leads and pre-qualification. So I personally, and he touched on this a little bit, but I personally use a white labeled version of Go High Level. So if you're not familiar with Go High Level, it is basically a business in a box. So you have funnels, surveys, forms, a database, CRM, calendars, everything put together. Now, the problem with Go High Level is it does a lot of things, but is a beast, and it's a lot to learn. So I have built my own version specifically for real estate. So that's what you're going to see today. But if you're familiar with Go High Level, very similar. So the first thing I want to show you here is the speed to lead is the biggest problem that a lot of agents have. So a lot of us get phone calls. Let me minimize this real quick to get to my settings. We have phone calls that come in. We're not quite sure, if we should step out of the closing or step out of the kids' soccer game or whatever it is that we're at. And so what happens then is either we step out and we answer the phone call and we miss whatever it is that we're doing in our life, or we don't answer the phone and odds are they're going to go down the list of Google agents to the next person, whoever is answering their phone, right? So let me, of course, this is giving me a hard time real quick. Let me show you exactly how we have voice AI built into our CRM. And you don't have to have go high level to have this. There are standalone voice AIs out there. I do not have any affiliation with them, but I know VAPI is one, VAPI, that a lot of people use. But here's what our back end looks like for our voice AI. So in the last 21 days, it's answered 19 calls, it's triggered off 13 different actions, and it's been 90% positive. So I can see exactly when people are calling. I can see the exact phone call. I can listen to the summary, see the transcript, and I can even train the AI on whether or not it did a good job or a bad job based upon its call history and the conversations that it's having. But with this, we have the ability to teach it just like we would a VA or an ISA. We have the ability to teach it exactly what it is that we want it to do. So for example, a seller calls in and says, hey, I'm interested in selling my house. The voice AI is trained. Hey, thank you for calling the LKW Home Team. This is Maggie. I'm the AI assistant for the team. How can I help you today? So when someone says that they're interested in calling or in selling, Maggie has all of her roles and responsibilities in a big prompt here. So she knows that she's a highly trained AI assistant for a real estate team. She knows that she's the first point of contact for inbound calls. She knows that her responsibilities are to handle these calls and immediately identify the caller's needs, provide helpful and relevant information based off the caller's intent, pre-qualify the buyers and sellers to assess their readiness. So she'll ask questions like, are you looking to buy or sell in the next 3 months, or are you just exploring your options? Have you done any renovations? What's your payoff? What's your timeline? What are your pain points? And so all of the questions that I otherwise would be asking in the consultation, Maggie's getting all of that information up front. And what that allows us to do then is if I'm in a, say Joe is my competition and Joe goes to the listing appointment, he's asking all of these questions, and then I show up and I already know they want to sell in the next 90 days. They have a brand new roof, brand new floors, but maybe their HVAC system is out of date. I know that they want to move to Florida to be closer to their grandkids. Whatever it is, I can show up to that consultation with solutions to their problems, meaning seller net sheet's already done because I've already asked their payoff. Comps are already pulled because I already know what renovations they have or have not done. And so I'm setting myself up to be the solution to their problem. Okay. So she can also book appointments. She filters out spam. She does a whole lot of things. And I don't want to take too much time on this, but I get this question a lot. Well, what if they want to talk to a human being? Fantastic. She's also trained on how to transfer calls to specific agents. So each agent on our team, the AI knows our phone number. So if someone says, I want to talk to a human or I want to talk to Lauren, it will actually transfer that call to my personal cell phone. Just like an ISA or a VA, we can also give it scripts. So we can say, here's exactly what you should say when someone says they found a listing that they want. Here are the property details, and know your state laws, what AI can and can't say as an unlicensed person. But it can start to pre-qualify these people along the way, and it allows us to get the speed to lead. The consumer gets exactly what they need, and we are not having to step out of life every single time. All right. It can also actually start to track how serious these people are. So if you've got warm leads, hot leads, it can tag leads. It can send calendar invites. It can basically do anything an ISA or a VA would. Now, that's the voice AI version. We also have this as a conversation or a form. So we have buyer intake forms. So if they're not calling in, you can see down here, we've got a little chat widget that they can talk to. They can absolutely just fill out forms if they don't want to talk to AI. So the way that we do this is when people book consultations with us or they see our social media, we have many chat automations that will send them to the next step. And so part of the next step is they comment a word, maybe they're getting our buyer playbook. And then they get their buyer playbook and then it sends them to a consultation. And the consultation sends them to this form. So everything is automated throughout step by step. And again, we're asking them all of the questions that we would otherwise be asking them in a consultation. So do you currently own? Do you have to sell? Are there any timelines? What's inspiring you? What type of property are you looking for? All of this is just to allow them, and again, we say this right up front, save time during our first meeting, help us tailor the search to you, and ensure a smooth and efficient process. So if we reframe the conversation that we're having them, and instead of being like, hey, please fill out this form, and then being like, well, that's weird, we could say, hey, to save you time and make sure that I come to this meeting as prepared as I can, please fill out this form for me as much as you would like. Okay. And we can even have things like they could upload a copy of their pre-approval if they're pre-approved. So we are just automating step by step everything that we can from the time the consumer finds us to the time that we actually have to show up as the human being. Okay. Now, this can be a lot of different things. Like I said, we've got buyer intake forms. We've got golden handcuffs, which is basically the people who feel trapped in their 3% interest rate. We've got internal wholesale. So I know if you guys are working with auctions or you work with a lot of investors, you can basically offer these people cash offers on the spot and have automations for that. We have investor intake forms, seller intake forms. So you can build these out to be whatever it is that you need in your business. Now, what this looks like, let me find a couple workflows here. What this looks like is when a new lead comes in, we have several different workflows built out. This is a demo account, so you're not going to see anything. None of this is published, but this is what we copy and paste from. So a new lead comes in, we have a workflow that the second that they submit that form, it's automatically assigning it to one of our agents. It's automatically creating an opportunity on our opportunity board, which I'll show you. It looks a lot like Trello or Asana. It's automatically emailing the lead. It's sending us an internal notification, and it's basically a full automation of what we as the human being would have been doing manually anyways. But what happens now is we can do it faster because the trigger, if you will, of this is as soon as they hit submit on that form, all of this is happening automatically. Okay. Now, another thing that we could do with this is if I wanted AI to step in and actually start to have that conversation. For example, if I'm at an open house or an auction is a great opportunity, if they fill out a form, what happens then is it not only is updating our contacts and tagging things, but we could actually have ChatGPT step in and start to have a full-blown conversation with these people. Now, stay TCPA compliant, know the rules, know the regulations, but as long as your form has a consent box that they check before they click submit, you can text them. The first message just has to have an opt-out option. So ChatGPT in this open house form, for example, is trained to be an AI assistant for our real estate team. Its job is to warmly welcome open house guests immediately after they fill out the form. Its goal is to start a friendly conversation, pre-qualify the lead, answer questions about the property, know your state laws, whether or not it can do that, guide them through scheduling their next step. Always sound helpful and conversational. I give it a script, just like I would an ISA or a VA. Here's your first message. And I also give it where to find our calendar. So say Joe comes through our open house, signs in automatically before he's even upstairs looking at, the second floor. It's saying, hey, Joe, thanks for coming to our open house. If you have any questions, let me know. Are you pre-approved? Where are you looking? What are you looking for? And in the background, ChatGPT is updating the contact information with all of the notes of what Joe is saying. And it's pushing Joe to actually book a consultation with us on our calendar. And so this is how we can have quicker conversations that are relevant to what it is that we do because we're training it every step of the way. Okay. So whether you're using voice AI or ChatGPT, we're giving AI a full knowledge base. So we can train it. This one, we've trained it on 19 different links of information. So this is who we service, where we service, what our clients say about us, things that we've done in terms of, flips and things like that. We also can give it frequently asked questions. If you already have these types of documents, you could just upload the files of what it is you already have, but we're training it to be an extension of our team. So it knows what we know. And if it doesn't, then it's also trained, like I said, to transfer the call over to a human being. And so all of these automations can have ChatGPT step in and start to qualify. So if this person is responsive, then it goes to a second ChatGPT prompt where I'm telling it, hey, this lead has replied and here's the message. So instead of a canned drip campaign or something of that nature, where we're almost having to predict what the next thing might be, we're showing it, hey, this is the message that this person actually said. Please analyze it and respond back. So if someone does say, I'm not pre-approved and I'm looking on the west side of town for $500,000, it'll say, oh, well, we can connect you with one of our preferred lenders, and that's a great price point. Would you like to get started? And then send the calendar link. So all of this is taking the heavy lifting off of us, but it's also ensuring that our client or potential client gets what they need in the moment. Okay. And these don't have to just be externally. These can be internally as well. So for example, with our team, when they go under contract, they also have a form that says contract price, commission percentage, are we charging, buyer broker fee? On top of that, are we going to add them to our VIP list or whatever questions you want to ask? And that form also has automations. So instead of them having to let me know as the rainmaker and then our assistant know as the transaction coordinator or client concierge or whatever you have, the second this form is submitted saying, hey, I've gone under contract, all of this is happening, including updating our pipeline, including updating our database, and including if they have a spouse or partner, we can actually have it create a second contact. And so what this looks like then is once they go under contract here, our pipelines are, let me go back here. Our pipelines are automatically updated. So we have an opportunity board, like I was saying, very much like Trello or Asana. But when a new lead comes in, it automatically goes into the new lead pipeline. Once they book an appointment, we can automate that it moves through the system. And then each one of these, wherever they're at, exclusive right signed, coming soon, active, under contract, closed, review submitted, no show for an appointment, not qualified yet, whatever that is, each one of these triggers off another automation. So for example, if they're a new lead, it will say, a little bit about us, here's how you can book an appointment. And then AI will watch. Once they book the appointment, it'll move them here. And then now it's sending reminders of, hey, you're 24 hours out from your appointment, an hour out for your appointment. Don't forget you've got an appointment. And then once it's done, it'll go into consultation complete, where it'll talk to them about what their next steps are. Maybe if you want it to send their buyer broker agreement or listing documents automatically, it could. If they're not quite ready yet, it'll go into the needs follow-up so we can see what those follow-ups look like. Again, all of this is completely customizable to whatever it is that you have as far as your systems and your processes in your business. All right. Now, another thing that we have with the automations is once you take a new listing, obviously there's a lot of things that we all do once we take a new listing. We've got to schedule photography or maybe a stager, put it in the MLS, update our TCs, whatever that is. You could also automate every single step of the way. So say, for example, let's go back here. Say, for example, all of a sudden we know that the exclusive right to sell or buy has been signed. And you could niche these down to exclusive right to buy, exclusive right to sell, and have different automations set up off these. But say the listing documents were just taken, you could automatically then tag that person as new listing taken. And then what happens now, it can assign it to a listing agent. It could add notes of whatever it is you need. Hey, new listing has been created. Whatever it is you need, it can send the initial email to the actual seller. So confirmation of your property listing and next step. And again, all of this is completely customizable to whatever it is that you want within your business. The beauty of this is it can automate emails, text messages, voicemail drops, whatever it is that you want. It can even call them if you want. And it will automatically do all of these things for us. All we have to do is build it out one time, saying when a lead comes in, this is what happens. When we take a listing, this is what happens. When we take a buyer, this is what happens. When we go under contract, this is what happens. So I always say to take a whiteboard or a piece of paper and give like a 20 or 30,000 foot view of every single step of what your processes look like before you start to build these. Because one of the biggest mistakes I made in the beginning 2 years ago was I had a lot of cool automations that they were great, but there was no full workflow. Like it was a lot of little things that still needed a manual touch somewhere in between. So it just wasn't efficient. When we think of it at a 30,000 foot view, we can start to build these automations step by step by step of whatever we need. And so if you look here, it can create tasks even. Hey, order professional photography after 2 days or after 5 days, or, wait another day and send a reminder to open up their blinds and make sure the dog bowls are hidden, or whatever it is that you do within your business. And you can set up these automations to be time constraints, day constraints, whatever it is that you want within your business. Schedule open houses, add it to the MLS, make sure we're updating. Hey, here's the final logistics for the open house. Hey, here's we're now underway. We'll keep you updated through the progress. Every single thing that you potentially would need, if you're doing it more than 2 times, 3 times, you could put an automation behind it. And now we've got a system. We've got a process that we don't have to be the bottleneck in. Because if I have a seller who's already asking me, hey, when's photography? That's a bottleneck. But if I have an automation that says, hey, here's photography, and either send them the link to book it themselves, or as soon as you book it, or as soon as you take the listing, you could even have it reach out to your photographer. Hey, order the photography. You could even have that be to your photographer. You can pull as many people, your lenders, your home warranty people, home inspectors, you can pull as many people into these automations as you want to trigger off those automations across your ecosystem, okay? So again, you can have these for buyers and sellers and investors, whatever it is that you need, and you can build these in ways where ChatGPT can also step into the conversation. Okay, so I will show you how to do this and what all is possible, but I understand that a lot of you probably aren't on GHL or obviously my white label. So I'm also going to show you 2 other platforms called Zapier or Make.com, where you could build these automations on a platform itself, connecting all of the different platforms that maybe you need. So I'll show you that in just 1 second here. But all of the things that we can do here are we can add contacts, we can find contacts, update contacts, add tasks. Like I said, schedule photography, schedule staging, whatever it is that you need. Update Slack. So if you work within Slack with your VAs or anything like that, you can have it automatically update things along the way through WhatsApp. All of this is completely customizable.
Lauren, I
So
just wanted to ask a quick question while you're going through
yeah.
some of this stuff is that, this is incredibly overwhelming for anybody from an operation perspective if they're just not that way inclined. Part of your service that you do offer is to help them fit this out, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do one-on-one coaching. I've got a community. I've got a little bit of everything for everyone.
Yep.
But that's why I always say, like, start with a whiteboard. Like, don't start with, oh my gosh, I got to go buy a subscription to something. Get a whiteboard or a piece of paper and ask yourself, when I take a listing, what happens? And then as the human, I have to notify this person, and then I have to put it in the CRM, and then I have to, all these different things. And once we have that laid out, that's when we can start to figure out where we could plug AI in. And I
How,
understand.
sorry, what do you think are the key reasons that people don't do this? Obviously, there's the overwhelming factor. Do they just not do enough deals? Like at the end of the day, what do you see as the biggest part of people not going to this level of detail? Because I'm assuming that your level of output for your team and for you, based on every deal that you do, whether it be a buyer, whether it be a seller, whether it be anything, is that your level of output would be 20% of what any other agents would be based on how automated this ultimately is.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do get overwhelmed, absolutely. But I also think a lot of people are they don't know what
You
they
don't have
don't
to be you
know.
don't have to be politically correct with this group, I can assure you.
That's all right. They think that you have to be super techie. And I quite honestly, it looks like I'm being super techie, but all I'm doing is clicking some buttons. If I
Mm,
have it laid out that when I take a listing, I want it to automatically assign a listing agent, then let us know in a note is created, then an email goes out. All I'm doing is clicking buttons and typing the exact same email. So I think a lot of people get overwhelmed that it's out of their league, and it's just not. A lot of people, this is something that I say often. You do not have to be techie to use AI.
mm,
All you have to do is be curious of what's possible. So you could even open ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm an agent who's not using AI at a high level. I want to use whether it's Go High Level, Zapier, Make, whatever. Help me through it, and it will. And there's
mm.
even like Google's AI Studio has a streaming feature where you could share your screen with it, and it will walk you through exactly what you need to be doing. So don't let the overwhelm or the fact that you don't think you're techie stop you, because there's so many AI tools out there now where you could just tell it what to build and it will build it for you. All we have to do is be curious enough to see what's possible and be clear enough with what it is that we want that it understands and can build to the extent of what you want.
Yeah, and also be willing to understand that this is constant refinement, I
Oh,
guess.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah, because I think that like you would make changes to this nearly every day. You'd probably review it with your team every week to say what's going well and what isn't going well.
Yep.
There was one question just in the question section that I missed,
Yeah.
sorry, because they didn't add into the chat, but they just asked the experience or the feedback that ultimately you get from the AI bot, so to speak, or the AI handling that first inbound phone call. I noticed that on your dashboard that you shared at the very beginning was 90% positive. But I guess are you losing business because of it, do you think, or is it not? It's just a generally better experience for them.
Yeah, so I've tweaked her opening message a couple times. She used to just say, "Hey, this is Maggie. I'm the AI assistant." She still says that, but now she's immediately asking things like, what is it that you're looking for? And if they say they want a human, she transfers it. So
Mm,
it's one of those things where I could change her script to say, hey, this is AI assistant. Do you want a human? But I don't want to push more onto us than is necessary. So I'm kind of weighing both options. And again, it's constant refinement.
yep,
But the fact of people not wanting to talk to AI, sure, it's going to happen. I mean,
yep,
look at social media was the same way. There was people who didn't want to use social media. There's people who don't want the MLS links. That I mean, everyone has their thing, right?
yep,
Um,
yep.
but don't let that be a limiting belief, because if she can both be that gatekeeper of our time, but also allow them access to the human if they want, it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
and I will say too, for the agents out there, if there's any lenders, I'm so sorry. But she gatekeeps our time because that's the number that all of the lenders who want to take us to coffee or lunch or, whatever, that's the number they get. So she's
100%.
trained to say, thank you, but no thank you. We're only taking appointments with clients right now. So imagine if all those healthcare calls and all the mortgage calls could not have to come through our phone, how much time and distraction it would eliminate.
Yeah, no doubt. Last question before I hand it back to you is that you're talking about people coming from an inbound perspective. You're doing social media advertising. I'm not sure whether or not you've got other sources of buyers in the sense of like whether it's Zillow or any of those leads or things along those lines. Is there an opportunity, obviously, as well, that this could be built out? That let's say you do an open house on a property, you get names and numbers from a whole bunch of people. Then you could upload those names and numbers, or you could use some type of system or open house app, or we have one internally called Housemate that you could add it in and then you could filter it into that cycle that then they could do the follow up as well. Do you use it for any follow up in the sense of open houses or showings or things along those lines?
Yes, so you absolutely can enable outbound calls, and it will actually call those people on your behalf. The
Hmm.
reason I haven't done that is because I am terrified of getting a $10,000 fine.
Right.
And we imported a big database. We've got like 10,000 people in our database, and I can't prove consent along the last 9 years of
Yep.
whether we were in command or when we were in street text and stuff like that. As far as new age or new leads coming in, absolutely. You
Yep.
could have it the second they fill out that form, they're getting a phone call that's asking them those questions. No problem. And you
Yep.
can actually train these things. Let me see if I can get back here. But you can train these things to have dozens, if not hundreds, of different voices and
You
male,
can even train it. You
female.
can even train it to have. You can even train it to have your own voice if you
Yeah,
use those things as well. Just
yeah.
if you've got an Australian accent, it doesn't work as well. I just needed to give you. It's not really good on the Australian accent side of things just yet. However, can you just clarify the $10,000 fine? That's obviously from a cold calling perspective. Even if you've gotten their name and phone number at an open house, so to speak, obviously they might have said don't contact me or whatever it is. That
Yeah.
still is not an opportunity where you can, like, obviously you got to be careful of like any cold calling or whatever it is, but the $10,000 is more so, is that something specific to Ohio, or is that
To my knowledge, it's the federal TCPA compliance.
okay.
This right here, though, is your way out of it. So
Okay.
this right here is a consent box. It just says, by checking this box, I consent to receive marketing and promotional messages, including special offers, discounts, whatever it is that you offer.
Yep.
This is them opting in.
Yep.
That allows us to then call. Now, if they
Okay.
opt out, then we have to automatically either
Of
DND
course.
them or things like that. But it's such a litigious world. I have not done the outbound calling yet with it.
Yep.
And it's only been out for about maybe 2 months.
Yep.
But yeah, you absolutely could have an outbound part of
Is
your
it the same?
workflow.
Is it the same? Are you aware of whether it's the same if you have the system just quickly send a text message saying, hey, you came through XYZ street just looking for some feedback or blah 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 blah?
Yeah, first text just has to have the option for them to opt out.
Yep. No
We're going to
problem at all.
automate any sort of messaging. We have to give them an opt out. And the way that this looks with the contacts, even, and I'll just show you again, this is a quick demo because I don't have, but like this is my contact, for example.
Yep.
You could automate that if they do opt out, you just DND all their channels. So it won't email them, it won't text them, it won't call them, whatever that is. And again, just staying compliant with the do not call list, staying
Yes.
compliant with the fact that they have chosen to opt out. We can no longer just automate messages.
Yep, absolutely. Just a couple of questions here, and then I'll hand it back to you,
Of
Lauren.
course.
Is that what Maddox asked about your white label build out? You'll obviously just go there towards the end and just let everybody know about that. Obviously, is that right?
Sure. Yeah, if
Okay.
you want.
And then just to answer one of the questions that we had with our own Vault CRM, absolutely. We have. I'm going to say it wrong, but Phil can take you through it. We have Zapier integration into the Vault CRM, so you'll be able to add all of that in as well. Okay,
Yeah.
Lauren, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to just jump in and ask a couple of questions that were there.
That's okay. Yes, absolutely. So all of this that you see here is, we've got funnels, we've got websites, we've got all this automation. This all right here is my white label, but it's already built out is the key. And I know that you guys have your own CRM too. So I'll jump over to Zapier for those of the people who are using yours. Same ideas. You can automate your webinars. You can automate your social media. You can automate basically anything that you want. You just have to have a clear idea of what it is that you need in terms of, your marketing or wherever these people are coming from. So best practices in my opinion are, no matter what CRM you have, do not get caught up on that. It can be any of them. At the very least, you should have a free Google form that looks like what I just showed you here, asking all of the questions of, let's see, right here, buyer intake form, all of the questions of what their timelines are, what their pain points are, questions that you would ask. Now, you can absolutely, for those of you who maybe aren't familiar here, you can go to forms.google.com and you could build your own form in a matter of seconds. Just tell it using this plus sign what questions you want to ask. Okay. Now, with this, say I wanted to come in here and I wanted to add in, let's see, second question I want to add is name. Oops. Third question, I'll do short answer is going to be phone number. Again, I'm not doing this perfectly because I'm doing this for time's sake, but say this is hypothetically my perfect form. I'm going to name this test 2 because I just said test 1 earlier today. Say this form is perfect and I'm going to have it do everything I want. Okay. In the settings here, you have a couple of options. You can see your responses. You can make this a quiz if you want it to be shorter or more fun. You can make it a presentation. You don't have to do any of that. What I would recommend you doing is linking it to a sheet though. So every single time someone fills out this form, it's automatically updating a spreadsheet. I did this for an event that I did in December. I got 104 people to give me their name, their phone number, their email in one social media post because I had a form that was connected to an automation. Okay. So, did you say yours is called the Volt, I believe? So if this is you and this is
Yes.
what you want to do, okay, I'm on Zapier now. So I could have, and again, they might have forms embedded, but I'm just showing you how simple this could be. I could go to my Google form here that I just created, and that's going to be what's called the trigger. This is going to be the one thing that AI is watching for to know, okay, this form was submitted. Now this automation is everything it needs to do. Okay. So the trigger event is going to be the second that someone fills out this new form response. Now, if you live in a small town and you do a lot of open houses and or a lot of farming, you could also have this maybe when the form is updated. So maybe someone filled it out 6 months ago and now they've updated their information. So you get to choose which of these you want. Okay. And then all you'd have to do is connect your Google account to where that form is. From there, choose the correct form. So I just made this test 2 so you guys could see in real time and then click continue. Okay. Now the second thing is, I don't know which one is yours, but let's just say it's this one. I would then choose where I want that information to go. So all you'd have to do then is, again, click on this and choose whatever out of these 7,000 different apps. So I have automations that will go from a spreadsheet to our CRM. I have automations that will go from an RSS feed, which is basically AI that's watching the news updates of mortgage interest rates, things like that, and then create social media campaigns. You can do basically anything that you want. Again, just knowing what that step-by-step human process is and building this out. So if I wanted it to go from that form to this CRM, I could literally come in here. Doesn't look like that's the right one. Let me just change this to, I'm Keller Williams. So I'll just do Keller Williams command real quick. I would come in here and I would say, as soon as someone fills out that form, I want it to create a contact. And then again, I would have to connect my login for Command or Vault or whatever it is that you guys are using and click continue. Now, from here, you have a couple of different options. Do you want it to mark as a lead automatically? It's a new lead, so probably, depending on how you have yours set up. Do you want this form to be a specific source? So meaning, do you want one form to be for open houses, and then every single person that fills out that form, it would tag them as the source was an open house? Do you want a second form that is specifically for farming? Then you can say, this is my event farming, and it would tag those people as it's putting them in. So it's up to you how you want to do it. You could have one form with more vague information, or you could have this form is for open houses, this form is for events, this form is for farming. You run it however you want to run it. Then from there, all you'd have to do is called mapping. Okay, so don't think of mapping as like a math equation. You're literally going here and saying, okay, email. I'm going to complete this by showing it where the email is on this form. So I would literally come in and I would just map each one of these. Whoops. So I would show it on the form. I didn't put first name on there, but I would show it on the form here, email, go over here, respondent email. So I'm showing it when it puts this contact's information into my CRM, I'm showing it where to find the correct information from the form to put into the contact. Same for phone number. I would click on here. I would go to that portion of the sheet and I would show it exactly where to find that information. You can do that for everything, tags, notes, whatever it is that you want. Now, when we get done, and again, this is a very simple one of just form to putting it in our CRM. When we get done here and we have everything hooked up, all we'd have to do is go over here and click publish. And now every time someone fills out that form, it's going to zap that information into your CRM. But again, all of this can be built off of 7,000 different integrations. So I know we're running on time here. I just want to show you how quickly this could be. Is if you're like, oh my gosh, that's awesome, but super overwhelming, you could literally come into Zapier and you could say, I want to create an automation that every time someone comes through my open house and fills out a Google Sheet, it automatically goes into, and again, I'm just going to use Keller Williams because I don't know if that was the right vault for you guys. Keller Williams command and have Open AI start to have a conversation with them using Twilio, because Twilio is the most popular phone number automation. You could literally come in here and just give it this idea, and it will start to build out the entire template of what it is that you need. And then again, all you'd have to do is connect the right accounts, the right sheets, and make sure that everything is working correctly. I'm
Now,
just gonna see.
Lauren, I was gonna say we have an app called Housemate, which is our open house app, or just a general
Yeah.
inquiry app that the agents can use for their property. They can obviously it pulls in and it can feed to both places though. If that was the original source of everything, it can put it into their Vault CRM, but then it could also add to these triggers from there. Correct? Or does it have to have one central place that it goes first?
Yeah, so if you already have something, you wouldn't need this, but this is inspiration for other things. Like
Yep.
if they come through the open house and you want to, add them to your Facebook pixel for ads, or,
Yep.
it can be for anything. And this can build everything that you need. You don't actually have to know how to build anything, just have to know how to connect it.
Yep. And I think that that's super helpful that you can actually go in there and explain exactly. I'll give an example. I'm in the process of building out our non-distressed auction accreditation again that we do for our Harcourts agents. And I gave it our old work booklet that we built, I think it's like 8 years ago. And then I told them that all the new intricacies of our process. And I asked it to come up with a comprehensive agenda, but then also make it into like go through what are the finer points that it finds. Like it really, you've just got to be so curious with it about each individual part of the process. Like you have to sit there. Like it's funny, I was asking a question of somebody today and they're like, have you asked ChatGPT? Like just from a coaching perspective, like sit there and say, hey, I need you to be an advisor and think objectively about this, and this. These are the positive, these are the negatives. It's something that is so good from a conversational perspective that you probably wouldn't say to a person that was your coach, that you might not be as comfortable with or things along those lines. Is that is
Yeah.
that fair?
100%. And if we're thinking that, our clients likely are too. So that's how you can use ChatGPT to create custom GPTs or projects where they can go ask questions that we control the answers to. It's built off of my systems, my processes, my documents, whatever. But then in the safety of their own home without fear of judgment, they can go ask these questions that they otherwise might be too embarrassed to ask us or our lender or our home inspector. Yeah.
Yep. Just from a general experience perspective, ChatGPT probably leads the way from a general consumer slash like just user experience perspective. There's Grok, there's Gemini, there's Anthropic, there's all of these different ones. Is there like I know that like for myself, ChatGPT is just easy because it's what we know, I guess, at this point. Gemini is easy because sometimes when I default to Google, but I find that Gemini is probably better from an image perspective. Do you have a general opinion on a few of the different ones?
Totally. Yeah. So I use ChatGPT about 90% of the time because I've been using it for over 3 years and it
Yep.
knows everything about me.
Yep.
So if I'm making a business decision, if I'm building a plan, if I'm, doing anything like that, I'm absolutely going to use chat because it knows me the best.
Yep.
If I'm going to write blogs or newsletters, Claude is the best writer. It's also the best coder. So if you're going to have it code anything, Grok is Elon's version. So it's really good at social media. It's trained on basically everything X. So they each have their own little like niches. Perplexity is best at the data, but you don't need all of them. And
No.
here's the thing that a lot of people get caught up on is, well, which one should I use? Well, like your database, use whichever one you're actually going to use because a lot of them are underwritten by OpenAI anyway.
Yeah.
So I personally use ChatGPT the most. I also, in my opinion, Gemini is probably going to come out in top because all the things I've seen Google even released in the last 21 days are absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a race to the top. And I think Google and OpenAI and Anthropic, they're all going to just start acquiring all these other little things to be the biggest beast.
Yep. Just a general question about imagery as well. I know that I'm gonna get this wrong. Is it Hannah Banana or what is it? What is it? Nano Banana?
Nano banana, yes.
That's it. So for those that haven't tried it, it's something that you can take a photo and manipulate that photo in order
Oh
for it to
yeah.
represent something else. Is that like, I know that there's certain laws and rules and regulations and whatever it may be, but one of the ideas that we had on our podcast one time a little while ago with Chris, who's our marketing guy, he like we came up with an idea that in a listing presentation, let's say that you went into a seller and their home needed to be remodeled a little bit or whatever it is, and you're trying to maximize value. If you could go in there and say that, hey, it's a two-part listing presentation, you go in, you take some photos of the home, and then you bring those photos back, and then you ask Nano Banana to hey, make this into a modernized kitchen with this sort of color palette and blah 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 blah. I guess that would be okay from a presentation perspective where you're speaking directly to the sellers, but advertising anything that's been altered, I think you have to make sure that there's a certain disclaimer on that, right?
Yeah, so you have to say it's AI image generated. And at least in our, I don't know if it's our board or our state,
Yep.
regardless, in Ohio, we can only do AI image inside. We cannot change anything outside. So I couldn't change shutters or add grass or a big patio or anything like that. But they're basically renderings of, if I'm an
Mm.
architect, basically renovating the house, what it could look like.
Yeah.
We just have to be specific that it's AI.
And I'd like to think that there's this sort of a little bit of a myth in people's mind at the moment that there's this that AI might have like falsified information that it gives you, but I'm assuming that AI's recollection of what the laws are locally from a real estate perspective are pretty good, considering that they have to be, I guess, because they're talking about their own regulations internally. Have you noticed that it's pretty accurate if you were just to ask them?
Yeah, so I noticed, so ChatGPT 5 came out in August, and I
Hmm.
was grossly unimpressed with it. I did not
Yep.
like it. It didn't do much. I stayed on 4 and the legacy models for the longest time. When 5.2 came out, though, my personal opinion, I think it got a lot better. And part of the better, if you will, is the data shows it's reduced hallucinations by over 30%.
Okay.
So
Yep.
it is
Hallucinations.
getting
Yep.
stronger. It is getting, but I always double check, make sure that we're double checking, because the last thing we can want to do is, well, AI told me. That's not going to stand up in a slap on the wrist court or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
So just double check everything, make sure it's correct. And here's another tip, and I know we got to get off here, but if I use ChatGPT for something and I challenge it and have Gemini do the same thing, I basically can have Grok or Claude or whatever be Switzerland and kind of say, okay, what information is right, what information is wrong, and kind of pull them all together.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, I first and foremost, I think that you've given us a lot of confidence in order to show it what it can do. But then I think that, Lauren, I think the benefit to this is that ultimately you're also providing a service that,
Yeah.
again, that people can look up. So just explaining a little bit more about that service. It's a white label product where a lot of these flows are built out. And then just in general, we've got your information. We'll make sure that that obviously your social media is awesome that you do. So following you on that, that's where we originally found you from, is Brenna, one of our agents or business owners, actually referred me to you. And then in a comprehensive manner, you obviously were able to step us through on the podcast. And now you're in front of our group, which is wonderful. But I guess that just from a service perspective, what is it that you can help the agents with?
Totally. Yeah. So I do have the tech, everything I just showed you. The white label version comes with all the workflows for new leads, your social medias, funnels. There's a web page that can connect to IDX. That's an upcharge through your MLS.
Yep.
So that is already built out. You would just have to work with my development team to customize it to you, meaning
Yep.
it's saying what you want, it's sending your links, et cetera. So
Yep.
that is an option. If you want to learn about all of this stuff, I also have a community where there's about 175-ish people in there, all across the nation, real estate, where we do mastermind calls. There's a classroom. So there's a lot of different ways to get a hold of me and kind of learn whether you want the tech, do one-on-ones, get in the community. But I just dropped in my Instagram handle. And if you go follow me, surprise, surprise, there's an automation that will say hello, and it will send you a link to my link tree. And in that link tree, you can see how to
So
book a
that's where
private.
the real estate mastermind and everything like that would be as
Yep.
well. I think that would be really helpful with some active discussion of what people are doing in there and just seeing the practical
Yeah,
examples of how it works. I think that's the practicality of what you've provided, but then also seeing how other people are using it is just awesome, because like
totally.
my mouth salivates at the fact of how much data you would collect. Like it would just be amazing, the volume of people that you guys would have within your database of people. And it would just be hard to see that if you didn't do this for another 5 years, how it would be you'd be very difficult to compete with your team and you within your marketplace. You
Yeah.
guys would own the people's attention.
Well, and that's the thing too, is it's exactly right. You're disrupting the market, you're owning the attention, but you're also providing high value. There's so much
Mm,
AI slop out there that it's ridiculous. But anyways, but I've got people in my community who are automating their expired listings, their probate listing, all these letters that they used to have to stuff. That's an automation. I've
yep.
got people who are automating building landing pages for every single listing that they have
Yep.
specific to the neighborhood, the area, whatever, in a matter of seconds. So there's a lot of things that even in our day to day that we don't think of, that even if it's something that you're like, well, that doesn't take me too much time. All right, well,
Mm.
stack that 15 minutes on top of 5 times a week on top of a year. I mean, getting anything back is valuable.
Indeed, indeed, and then you start bridging into the other part where Tony Robbins is talking about at the moment that AI is going to replace people's purpose. They might like it stuffing envelopes, but I don't know that I'm there yet. That I wanted to do more and more for me, but
Totally. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm to a point now where 75%, 80%, somewhere around there of our business is completely automated. And it's just simpler that way.
wonderful. Again, thank you so much for your time.
Yep.
Really do
My
appreciate it. Hope
pleasure.
that our team connects and we'll be in touch shortly. Thanks again,
Sounds
Lauren.
great. Talk to you soon. Bye.